We back, we back, we back. Hopefully this thing work out this time, man. If it doesn't, we'll get together on another date. But we're gonna try this thing again, man. We ain't gonna give up.
Can you hear me now, bro?
My main man, you loud and clear. Yes, sir.
Good. Look, man, I had to go and borrow a Boost Mobile from one of the homies, bro. But look here, we're gonna make this work.
All right. I see you say you don't have much time, so I'm just gonna let you get the steering wheel and you just bring it to him.
Listen, one of the main things I love about what you're talking about is main factors of issues that we're oppressed by every day. But one of the things that I really want to bring to the attention of the people in the state of Alabama is something that I noticed today. You might have seen it on my feed earlier. But last year, in November 2018, Colorado made a I don't know what you want to put it out there as a litigation or voting litigation to the public of Colorado. Now, one of the things that has transpired in Colorado was they took the slavery clause out of their constitution, out of the state constitution of Colorado. Now we're seeing that, I'm talking about less than a year later, Denver is doing away with the private prison industry inside of their communities. And this is a huge win in Colorado, but not just Colorado, but the slavery abolition movement altogether. And what Colorado did is they took and they attacked the root problem. Now we're dealing with stem problems, we're dealing with leaf problems, whatever you want to call it, all through the state when it comes to things that we was talking about with the Prison Litigation Reform Act and, the conditions of the prisons, the overcrowding, sentence reform of the state of Alabama and all that. But one of the things that I'm never going to lose focus on is the fact that slavery exists still to this day.
Exactly.
And it exists through the United States Constitution as well as the state Constitution, Article 1, Section 32 in the Alabama Constitution. And that's something that we really have to focus on. But the first thing we had to do, brother, is we have to awaken these slaves inside this prison system, and we have to also awaken the family members of the slaves. And that is the big thing that we got to do, because you, just as well as I, we sit back and we looking at these that are content inside the prison system, inside this plantation, and they don't want to move because they're okay with their situation as it exists today, man. But I'm not okay with that. I don't know about them, or what about, I'm sure you're not okay with that, but I'm not okay with that. What do you think about that?
Man, just like a guy just pulled up, come holler at me, and I told him, hey man, I'm going live, bro. I know your case similar to my case, man. You got a lot of time, a whole lot of time on some bullshit. Oh man, you always catch me at a bad time, man. Y'all would like to get on there and this and third. I'm saying, bro, you ain't doing that right now. I'm saying, what's up? I'm saying, you get on there and let people know what type of sentences they getting out and what you've been had to go through trying to get back in court on that. Oh man, you always kept me at a bad. And yeah, that's what we're going through. People are not motivated, and it's not. It's like this. Like we had a discussion in the barber shop. We had a cipher, and dude, old school spoke on that. Dudes are afraid. They're afraid to litigate. They're afraid to push the pins in the third. And I came back, and then another guy came back and said, "No, that's not the case. Majority of the guys are lazy." You see what I'm saying? And a lot of them don't have incentive to do it, and they don't have no motivation behind it. They can't see past tomorrow. So, with that being said, it needs some type of incentive. They need some type of incentive that doesn't require funds. For instance, a guy that exhibits good behavior. All right, if he ain't got no money to get commissary, if he ain't got no money to get no food package, if his folks he ain't got nobody on the street or no money to come visit him, this and the third, those are the only incentives available to him for good behavior. So we need incentives that don't require funds. You see what I'm saying? That's just what it is. People don't have no incentive for exhibiting good behavior, and a lot of them lazy. That's just my point of view.
Well, what you're talking about, no incentive, that right there is directly implemented by your DOC and your legislation uh, process. They don't want us to have an incentive to do actually work at rehabilitating ourselves or working to be rehabilitated. You know what? I hear a lot of people talk about the word rehabilitation and the need for rehabilitation or the process of rehabilitation inside the Department of Corrections. And, as of right now, I understand the definition of what rehabilitation is. Now, rehabilitation defined by the Webster means to mend and bring back to the state of being before it needed to be rehabilitated. Now, if I was being rehabilitated, how in the world can I, by the term and the definition of rehabilitation, be truly rehabilitated if I'm getting out of prison with a $10 check and on top of that, can't vote, can't get a job at certain places. I can't go to school and become a lawyer, a doctor, or, I can't become a judge. There's all these things that I'm going to be denied. So how in the world am I being placed back into the state of being that I was before I became a slave of the state of Alabama? It's not happening. So that's something that these are the things that we have to work on as far as bringing the incentives back to the state of Alabama. And that's one of the things that we are pushing with Unheard Voices, OTCJ, and the Free Alabama movement as far as into the legislation and bring back things such as good time for everybody in the state of Alabama. Now, mind you, one of the things that we have going on right here in the state of Alabama is a high rate of violence, right?
Right.
Now, if I personally, which I have a violent offense and I have 50 years, if I have the incentive to do the right thing instead of being violent inside this prison system because I'm earning good time for my good behavior, then I'm going to sit my motherfucking happy ass down and I'm not going to be getting violent. I'm going to rethink the way I'm doing things inside this prison system, which is going to aid me to be a productive citizen when I get out of prison. But you know what? The slave master doesn't want me to think that way. You know why? Because he wants me to be back out there on the streets and come down back to the plantation where I'm wanted the most. I'm not wanted on the streets. I'm not wanted. My voice isn't wanted on the street to keep the young generation from coming to the prison system in the state of Alabama either.
They ain't looking at it like that. And the people on the street and the people that's voting for these politicians, they don't see it that way. It's just like someone had made a post about, I forget the guy's name, but he's on the parole board and he's the guy that implemented the 446, the habitual offender. So these are the things they shoot for. They put the same people on the board that trying to keep us in prison, but they're still hiding. We trying to do prison reform and we trying to minimize the prison population and advising what's going on. But that's not true. The actions are contradictory to what they're saying.
Every single action that Kay Ivy's doing right now, anybody who has common sense or good sense looking on the outside in can tell that everything she's doing is contradictory to what they need to be doing or what the federal government at this time is telling them to be doing. But you know what? You're going to have to look also at what Jay Towns, which is the Northern District Attorney General for Alabama, he's right there with the good old boy system too. Now, everything is politics, 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 all the way down to Governor Kay Ivey, Steve Marshall, Dale Marsh in the Senate, and so on. So, Jay Towns just recently said that he had no intention whatsoever to actually litigate the Eighth Amendment violations that the Department of Justice has uncovered. He had no intent to litigate that according to the Eighth Amendment violations, man. And, he's speaking volumes. He's telling society that I'm playing a political role. But I'm going to tell you something, bro. What we have to do on the inside as inside organizers and on the outside as outside organizers, we now have to make them politically uncomfortable. So we're fixing
Right.
to have to make them do their job and quit playing politics with our lives. And the only way that we can do that is to come together in unity on the inside of these prison systems, shut down on their work, shut down on the slave labor, and force their hand. Because unless their hand's forced, they're not going to move. They done made it plain. I'm not planning on doing any litigation. We in the Department of Justice don't want to prosecute this. Well, guess what? You took an oath, Jay Towns. You took an oath, Steve Marshall. You took an oath, Attorney General William Barr, that you will uphold the United States Constitution. You took an oath before your God. So guess what? We're fixing to hold you accountable before your God and before the people of the United States of America. And that's what we plan on doing in September, bro. And following it up right behind that with a shutdown in October.
All right. Let's recap a little bit for the people that just tuned in and people that didn't catch the first couple broadcasts where we had difficulties. All right, you had shout out some statistics about how the politicians are main people that advocate and release is nonviolent offenders. And we have over 150% capacity. And what California had their capacity and they got together and had a mass release. So recap on those real quick for us. I know our time's limited.
Well, once again, Alabama is hollering they want data-driven information, man, and I love kicking data-driven information out to people. So, I don't mind recapping on that right there because this is important for the people that are listening, especially on the outside and even on the inside, to take into consideration and remember. Right now, Alabama is at 164 plus. I don't know what the latest is, but a month or two ago, it was at 164% overcrowded. 14% of that 164% is nonviolent offenders, leaving 150% being violent offenders. One of the things that California showed, bro, and I thought about this earlier, right after we spoke about it earlier, man, but one of the things that California has shown in that mass release that they did was that their violent offenders were not a big issue in being placed back out into society. That big, huge 30,000 man release that they had did not play a role in bringing up any kind of criminal activity out there in them streets in California. Actually, the crime rate actually went down during that time. But see, Alabama and the politicians are playing upon the citizens of Alabama and playing that role. Well, if we have to release these people, they're going to be violent offenders this, violent offenders that. And then they're recapping back on this Jimmy Spencer thing and using Jimmy Spencer as a violent offender. And, they're misleading the public on that right there. Jimmy Spencer wasn't even a violent offender. He was a non-violent offender the whole time in his career of criminal activity. But the public is not looking, and they're actually not digging into the so-called facts that Alabama politicians are putting out there and even lobbyists are putting out there to deceive the citizen of Alabama. Sorry about that. But one of the things that really just gets me is how the public is allowing the politicians to paint the picture that they're painting of us and showing us to be less than animals, so to speak, or being animals, and they don't want us back into society. But, bro, I got news for them. 95% of those who are incarcerated in the state of Alabama will return back to society. The question that they need to be asking and the question that they need to be wondering on is what kind of individuals are they going to be once they return back to society? Are we going to be the animals that we have been forced to be, being that we're thrown up in these violent environments? And I don't know about some of these people, but I refuse to be the victim. So, that's just the way it's going to be with me. I'm not going to be the victim. I'm not going to let nobody stab me up. And and God knows, I hope to God I don't have to catch me a body inside this prison again. But the thing about it is I'm not going to be the victim. So, yeah, I would rather not be in a violent environment, but it is what it is.
That's exactly true, man. Like the statement you just made about those guys that they let out and the crime rate dropped. That's because they don't understand that by us going through this and by us seeing the other side of this, we grew up all our lives and people was telling us, hey, do right, stay in school, gonna go to prison, this and the third, and we ain't believe it until we see it. So now that we see it firsthand, we see what's going on the other side. When we get back out there, we don't want the young guys going through this. So we try to eliminate the crime rate. We get dudes and we snatch them up and tell them, hey, that ain't the right way to go. You know what I'm saying? That's why the crime rate dropping. That's why the crime's so high out there, because they don't have nobody to guide them. They don't have no leaders out there, because guess what? Majority of us are in here. And yeah, it would be impactful. And like you said, these people don't want that. No, because their money drop. When the crime rate go down, then you have less slaves. You have less people to lock up. All right. Remember earlier we spoke on the topic about the judges. We didn't ever get to that topic, so let's speak about that. All right, prison overcrowded. We are shooting at reform and sentencing and this, that, and the third. But what about the people that are sending people to prison from get go, initially sending people to prison? They're the ones we got to look at. See, a lot of people be looking at the major scale, the macrocosm, and voting for presidents and voting for district attorneys and the third. But nobody, it's rare that you look at the municipal level down, who running your city, what judges are being placed on benches, what DA, what sheriff. If we address those issues, then we can nip it in the bud. We can get to the root of the matter. If they're not sending guys to prison with all these long sentences, if we got more rehabilitative programs on the street, more, let me see, what's the word I'm looking for? Alternatives than sending people to prison, then that would reduce it in itself. What do you think about that?
I agree, and that's something that's going to have to be addressed. There's no doubt about that. That's going to be part of the sentencing, not part of the sentencing reform, but it's going to be part of what a lot of people are using as the narrative as reform. I don't use that narrative too much as far as the reform aspect of it, but the article that you sent me earlier, and I read over it dealing with these judges, man, and that's so true. It was dealing with the lawsuit that was dealing with the NAACP suing about the voting in of black appellate judges, and that is something that we have to do. We have to address who is our judges and who is the ones going to be holding the public accountable for the so-called crimes, and if they're going to give, fair and impartial trials, hearings, whatever it might be. We have to address these things, man. There's no way to get around it. But that all falls on the voter. And one of the
Right.
ways that we're going to be able to address that voting issue is putting the vote back into the hands of those that have been convicted of a crime and that was stripped of
Exactly.
voting rights. Of course, Kenneth Glasgow did a huge part in that, winning the lawsuit that he did, and I salute Brother Glasgow for what he did. But we need to not marginalize how it's being marginalized. We can't stop where Glasgow on the win that Glasgow had, man. Because as of right now, there's a limit on who can get those voting rights back, and that being those who have non-moral turpitude cases, and those basically meaning non-violent criminals or non-violent ex-felons or whatever you might call it.
Exactly.
But we really have to attack that, and there's no doubt about it. But we have to put those people inside, man, because as long as our state's going to stay as white supremacist as it is, it's going to continue having the slave master mentality, and we're going to have to overcome that, and the people are going to have to make that happen. No doubt about it.
All right, we got a comment right here from Kimberly Boca, and it caught my attention. She said that it's drug-related crimes that are main contributors to mass incarceration, addiction being one of them.
It's drug-related crimes that are main contributors to mass incarceration, addiction being one of them. And you know what? I don't know enough on that to actually, sit there and say that you're telling the truth and or you're not telling the truth. There's possibly a whole lot of truth to that, because what I witnessed inside of here is a whole lot of addiction mentality. There's no doubt about it, and I agree with that. But when you're dealing with a drug addiction, you got a huge platform, whether it be a non-violent offender or whether it be a violent offender. Man, a lot of your violent offenses could be drug related as well. But where do you start attacking that addiction form? Man, you attack that addiction and that problem that we're dealing with in society with our children. We have to do that with our children. We can't. It's kind of hard to start right now with a grown man who's got an addiction and doesn't have a job, and his life is in the street. He's going to have to find a different avenue. He's going to have to want to stop the addiction, man. We already know that. But the thing about it is, we're going to have to start with our children, man. And the only way that we're really going to have to be able to give that example is we're going to have to bring them fathers back out of prison so that they can start being a father and start leading these children in the right direction. That is one thing that we are having a huge issue with right now, is we're seeing a fatherless generation come to this prison.
Oh man, well you hitting on some big topics here, some big notes. Like we said, man, it's gonna piss some people off. So we'd rather be pissing people off than for us to be pissed on. That's the headline we
Ain't
got
no
out right
doubt.
now.
And I
But
agree
I
with
mean,
Kimberly. Kimberly, she just said an opportunity for children. There's no doubt about it. But the thing about it is actually look at your schools and what your schools resemble nowadays. Your schools are resembling prisons. And when
right.
you got poverty inside your schools are turning around right now, turning these alternative schools and having they actually I've seen reports where they actually have closets that are put these children in and that are resembling cells inside these alternative schools. And the very one that's going into these alternative schools or getting kicked out of these schools are impoverished people. You're talking about the black community, the brown community, and this trailer park and all this and that. Man, they are actually trying to put these children inside these prisons. They're not trying to educate our children.
That's what they said from public schools to prison, man. It's pipeline was on the movie 13. I hear they got another documentary in the shoot they got in the making. It's strictly about what we got going on, what's been going on here. All right, I just seen a video online before we had started the interview. Inhumane conditions still inside Alabama prison. What's your take on that? Because I hear a lot of people talking about inhumane conditions. Because a lady mentioned to me the other day, it was a politician. She said that, why do y'all keep on talking about overcrowding, overcrowding, overcrowding? It's not overcrowding. Everybody got right. Ain't nobody sleeping on the floor. Ain't nobody standing third. Y'all need to be talking about something else other than overcrowding. And a guy made a statement before when I spoke about inhumane conditions. He said that this prison, it ain't supposed to be comfortable. It's not the Marriott. It ain't supposed to be the Hilton. People that come and be comfortable, like with 2 or 3 year sentences, they wind up coming right back because they enjoyed themselves. But when you come and you suffer and you really go through something, and it make an impact on you, it's detrimental to your psyche, and you're less likely to reoffend. So, what's your take on those topics?
We know first and foremost, you're talking about individuals who've never been inside this environment. They don't really, yeah, and they're speaking out of ignorance, man. When you got people speaking out of ignorance, man, they're going to sound all kinds of stupid. And I'm not even to try to sugarcoat that at all. They're just going to sound all kinds of stupid. Because when I look at that situation, you're talking about inhumane treatment, inhumane conditions, and you should have thought about all that before you did the crime and all this and that. But this is what you need to look at as a citizen of the state of Alabama and somebody who is a law-abiding citizen and has a house and a home and I repeat this over and over again. I've said this on many platforms, but what kind of individual are you going to want me to be when I get out of prison? Because there is no law that says that I can't move next door to Miss Kimberly Baco. I hope I got that last name right. But Miss Kimberly, I can move next door to you. I can move next door to anybody in the state. And the question then is going to be what kind of individual I am at that point. Well, the answer to that is going to be whatever kind of environment I came out of. That's what kind of individual I'm going to be.
So we're a product of
And
our environment.
if I'm in an inhumane environment, whether or not you see it as inhumane, and truly you may not see it as humane, or you may truly see it as being humane, whatever the case might be, because you've not been in here. You don't see this brother I see. The matter of fact that I'm looking at right now on the floor. You don't see this brother I'm looking at over here who is wigging out on some daggone drugs. You don't see the brothers that are getting stabbed up and down, left and right because of the inhumane conditions. If you did not have an overcrowded prison, you wouldn't have these issues. Overcrowding is the next part of the root problem. And the next question you have to ask is, why is it overcrowded? I'm going to tell you why it's overcrowded, because they want as many slaves inside this plantation as they can use.
Exactly. Because, like I said before, earlier in the interview, it's so many people that are in here that are innocent. It's so many people in here that didn't have fair trials. There's so many people in here that sentences are disproportionate to the crime that they committed. For instance, I'm gonna give a little insight on me, which no, I don't think I'm gonna do that. But there was another guy who just saying who I told it was similar to me. He got 3 life sentences because a white girl who he was selling drugs to, he didn't want to give her any more drugs. So she put a rape case on him, and he got 3 life sentences. Ran wild for that.
You know, I'm glad you brought that tip up right there, talking about the sex cases and stuff like that. And this right here is for all of those who are listening. You know, I actually did a lot of research because I was actually looking into some of the statistics, the data-driven information that they were given to or wanted or hollering that we need to look at. Data-driven information. One of the statutes in the state, or most of the statutes in the state of Alabama dealing with sex cases is plain, and it states in them statutes that the only uh, evidence needed to convict somebody of a sex crime in the state of Alabama is the victim's testimony alone. Now, mind you, for all the females who are listening, please do not take what I'm about to say as me bashing females, because I'm not. But at the same time, I want you to pay close attention to what I'm saying. Females are devious, just like any other individual in the world, but females are devious, and when they have power, just like any other individual, they are going to use that power. And when you know that I can say that this man just raped me, and that's all that the jury needs to hear is my testimony to get it, then guess what? They're going to give a guilty verdict. And the reason being is because, and I never thought about it until I actually really started thinking about it, was because when you look at it, most men inside the prison system automatically look at a sex offender and say, yep, you had to do it. Because we, as men, want to protect our women. But when I started doing the research, bro, I looked back and I said, damn, why is it that the stats are showing that sex offenders are the least likely to reoffend?
Exactly.
And I go to seeing all the cases that are being overturned over time, and I'm like, well, maybe it's because they actually didn't have no problem dealing with no sexual addiction or something, whatever you might want to call it. Maybe it was they were actually innocent, so they didn't have to resort back to those problems.
Man, we see direct evidence from the Me Too movement that jumped off a year or two ago. The Me Too movement has exposed a lot of the devious things that females do, whether it be for monetary uh, motives or just revenge. You see it firsthand. You got guys like Matt Lauer that lost his $77 million contract just because he was complimenting a lady and shooting at her just being a man. You see what I'm saying? You have females that know the power they got if they scream or say these type of things. You see what I'm saying? So we see direct evidence that no, it'd be a lot of bullshit in those cases. But I just brought that up to show how when you spoke about it being overcrowded in the sentencing and about people not getting out, they getting ridiculous sentences out. That's not rehabilitated. How can somebody rehabilitate from 300 years? Come on.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. And that's something that we have to look forward to as far as in actually changing the way we think as the public eye. The public eye has to change the way they think about the things that are going on through the courts and all of that right there. So that's going to take time. That's going to be something that we're going to have to change in our way of thinking in society, man. And the only way that we're going to be able to do that is we're going to have to start teaching and preaching what we're talking about nowadays. And the only way that we're going to do that before we get out of the prison system is continue doing what we're doing now and educating the public and getting the public involved, man. The public, man, all those who are listening to this and who do listen to this, man, that's something that we here in Alabama with the Free Alabama movement. Hey, let me tell you something about the Free Alabama movement, man. The Free Alabama movement was started back in 2014 by Brother Melvin Ray, by Robert Earl Council, and by Alameen. And at no time did these brothers believe that we're going to have the platform that we have today. And we have a hell of a platform. The Free Alabama movement is known all across the United States of America. The Free Alabama movement is known all through other countries over there, overseas, that we ain't never heard of or we ain't never even been to. So we on a platform today, and we got to utilize that platform in the state of Alabama right now today. We cannot be wasting any more time sitting on our hands, being content, being stuck in the moment, and living day for day inside these prison systems. Man, we got to start getting our family members involved. And I'm fixing to have to wrap this up, but I want to go ahead and touch on what we got going on here in the future, in the very near future. We're going to be at the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C. We're going to be demanding that the Department of Justice goes ahead and files suit on the Eighth Amendment violations that's been uncovered. We're going to hold the Department of Justice accountable for them not already moving. And we're going to go ahead and hold Alabama Department of Justice and the Attorney General's office accountable for them being reluctant to actually protect the confined citizens inside of the state of Alabama. and stop turning out animals since they want to label us as animals, and stop treating us like animals. I mean, bro, I know you've seen this, but recently a K9 dog died from sniffing
Oh man,
some dope.
yeah,
And this K9 dog got more respect and more love shown to it by the Alabama Department of Corrections and by lawmakers and by politicians than the brothers who are losing their lives inside of here. Now, we are men. We're men. We're not a dog. And I see this society is labeling us as less than dogs by what they did for this mutt at stake. They're seeing us as less as dogs. Because the one thing I do know about a dog, when a dog gets tired of that master kicking on his ass or not feeding him, he's going to bite the master's arm. He's going to bite the master back. And the brothers up in here, they ain't to that point. They're not biting back yet. They're not rising up. And we got to get these brothers to rise up. We got to go ahead and shut this prison shit down, the prison labor down. And we got to start getting our family members to go to these rallies and show up like they did at Limestone recently and got rid of 2 wardens and a notorious captain at Limestone.
hey man. Well, we hit on a lot of good topics today, man. I appreciate you, Swift. Man, like you said, I'm right with you. We got to get the guys to stand up, man. You don't stand with some of your fall for anything, man. We need the spirit of, we need some George Jacksons in here, man. We need some Atticus in here, man. We need some dudes that's ready, war ready. Hey, everything ain't got to be violent. We non-violent. We ain't trying to get no violence, period. We trying to do this thing intelligently and peaceful. We just trying to get our voice heard. We just trying to let y'all know that, hey, y'all perception is not reality.
You know, you're 100% right about that, man. And for years we've been progressing in the nonviolent movement. You know, that's something that we want to continue doing. We don't want to see a retake of Attica of 1971. We don't want to see that. But the thing about it is, society, taxpayers who are listening to this, no sooner than it comes down to being another Attica, then you're going to want to sit there and say, well, we told you what, nothing but animals. We told you. But we're telling you now, we're men, and we want to see things change in a nonviolent atmosphere. And we've been consistent for years now. And God knows we don't want to continue nonviolence whatsoever. If you're going to tell me that it's not going to work, I'm going to believe that it's going to work. We're going to continue pushing on and continue pushing on. Man, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I appreciate y'all letting me have this opportunity in this platform. Y'all are doing an awesome job. Y'all keep doing what y'all brothers over there are doing, man. I salute you. Brother Kinetic sent his love to y'all. And I just talked to him the other day, and I told him about y'all, man. He said, man, y'all keep doing what you're doing. He salutes you.
Already, man. We're blessed against racism and slavery.
Ain't no doubt,
Peace,
man.
brother.
I appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you.
I appreciate everybody tuning in.
Okay, brother. In a minute. I want to see if we can bring somebody else on here. But there y'all have it, man. Live. Let's see. You're going to have to accept it, black man. I seen your request. I'm adding you now. Kenyatta, what's the problem? Are you not, is it not coming up on your screen? If you're there, man, send me a comment. Let me see you in the comment section, because I just tried to put you in there. You might have to leave and come back in. Try to leave and come back in. Yeah, man, you know, I noticed something about these live videos, man. Anytime we be on here clowning and just vibing, these views should be 70, 80, sometimes 100. There be a lot of people in the live. But we on here talking about this positive, constructive thing, these issues that really matter, something that the people need to hear. We haven't got over 15 people in here. I know the views probably go up after the fact, but right now in the lobby, people that's directly watching, it's sad. If I was on here rapping though, my shirt off or something like that, bro, I probably have 50, 60 views up there. Okay, I'm finna bring you on now, bro. Hope your signal good. I know you say your signal bad, but try to get you a good spot and come on in. Already. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but the screen ain't came on yet.
You good, you good. I need your screen to be blurry like that. I'm saying I can hear
Okay,
you
I'm
good.
saying I can't see yours. All right, I can't see yours, period, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. We just need
We're
the
here to
message.
talk, not to be seen. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
right.
Exactly. Okay, who am I speaking with and what you got going on, brother man?
Well, you speaking to the notorious Bennu Hannibal RaSun, the founder of Free Alabama Movement, one of the members who's been behind enemy lines for the last 5+ years as a result of our organizing the activity down here in the state of Alabama.
That's what's up. So I got a real legend on here. Oh man. All right. You've been inside here. You've been inside the live video. See what kind of topic we've been speaking on, whatnot we had going on. What kind of insight do you have to offer on the movement and what's been going on? I'm gonna give you the platform. I'm gonna let you just go run it because I ain't
All
haven't
right.
prepared any questions for you.
Okay, well, I mean, first off, it's just been an honor to see brothers and sisters, people in the community, stand up, accept the challenge of becoming politically conscious, and then taking that challenge further and utilizing the knowledge. A lot of people learn a lot of things. They got all this information, but they don't use it. They don't apply it. And so down here in Alabama, and then with our ability to be able to expand across the country, there's a lot of people that took this information that was being put out there and took up this request that we were putting out for people to come together around the country. You know what I'm saying? So when we got started, we just had an idea about what we were trying to do here in Alabama to deal with our circumstances, but it's because of what people had done before us. Like
Right,
the brothers in Georgia, they had laid a platform for us. The brothers in California, they had laid a platform for us. So it was a lot of people already making efforts, but the thing was, they were not brought together. They were not coordinated. We were not as one around the country, and so that's what we set about doing from Free Alabama Movement is to help try to spawn a national movement where we can come together in more places because we all dealing with the same issues. So just seeing that happen, thinking about where it started, you know what I'm saying, just from the first time that the concept, the idea came to mind, where I was at, and then to see what it has become because of the people. It ain't because of the idea. It's not because of no charismatic person or whatnot. It's because of the people. So when the people receive, then these are the kind of phenomenal results we get to see. So that's what's been the best thing to me, just seeing so many people getting involved all around the country and around the world.
right, right. Yeah, a brother just inboxed me not too long ago about solidarity, and we big on them Bay Views, man. The Bay Views has been an outlet for us to stay connected inside these prisons because everybody not privileged enough to have a phone or email or able to stay in contact and link up and let us know what's going on. So people on the outside in the newspapers and other media that's spreading the word and keeping us connected. That's a big up to them, man. We appreciate that.
Oh, no doubt. And then as far as Bayview go, for anybody who's involved in the movement, if you ain't got a Bayview, you really ain't informed because that is our newspaper. Sister Mary Ratcliffe, Dr. Ratcliffe out there in California, they've been pushing this paper inside. You know what I'm saying? This is an important vehicle for us to have, and they've been going through some financial times. It costs $7,000 a month for them to print an article, and I feel like for those of us behind these walls with the revenue going through our hands, and for us to claim that we are men, and for the women stepping up saying that they're women, we have to show and prove on that, you know, and these are the type of institutions, vehicles that we need to make sure that we preserve because we got the resources for it. But, it's understanding what's important, making sure our values are proper. And salute to the baby, man, because we couldn't did it without the baby.
Yeah, man, just to be clear, that's the San Francisco Bayview National Black Newspaper. It's operated by Sister Mary Ratcliffe, Dr. Ratcliffe.
That's correct.
All right, yeah. So, say, son, what's on the table, man? What's some
Yo,
of the things been going on that you've been paying attention to, and that's been popping off lately? And some of the things been going on. Just some of the things you want to address.
well, I mean, first thing is we know we in the state of Alabama, they there was a guy had got out of prison and he had committed some crimes where he was accused of committing some crimes where some people got killed, and so these paroles were in response to the organizing and the sacrifices that we were making down here, where we were constantly applying more and more pressure on the system to respect our human rights, to address these human rights issues and whatnot. And so these people were being released from parole, and then a situation happened where a guy was accused of committing some heinous crimes, and they used that opportunity to go in and amend laws and change things to the parole board, which basically put a man by the name of Charles Graddick over the parole board. Now they went back and did history. This is a man who was supported by the KKK. The KKK conducted a rally in his hometown in support of him in the course of one of his elections. And so this is the type of person that they put in our parole board. So we've been challenging that. We got some organizations down here that's really doing some magnificent work in their field dealing with parole and probation. They specialize in that. They probably the most knowledgeable people on that in the state of Alabama that we have at our disposal. So they've been challenging that, and they've got a campaign going where they're trying to get Senate Bill 382, which is a bill that's going to reduce a lot of people's sentences from without the life without range. It's going to repeal the Habitual Felony Offender Act, which has thousands of people incarcerated, and then thousands more whose sentences have been enhanced by that. So we got the special session postcard campaign going on down here through the Alabama Justice Initiative, and so those are just some of the things going on. Of course, we're looking at this Department of Justice report, and we're looking at some of the reactionary violence coming from the state behind this dog dying inside of one of their prisons. So it's really a full slate of things. You know what I'm saying? So we just constantly got our eyes wide open, man. But the goal and the objective and all things above is freedom. And so that's the main thing we're doing. We fighting for freedom. And along that journey, these are just stories and stuff that we coming into contact with.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been on top of it myself. I've been following and seeing what's been going on inside of Alabama. And it's like everybody's holding their breath right now. Everybody's trying to see what Alabama's going to do, what's the next move. Because in my mind, it's like Juneteenth all over again. Alabama don't want to let the slaves go. It's like the last
Yeah.
ones is on the mount. They want everybody's reforming, everybody's reducing the sentence, and everybody reducing prison. You got people that are abolishing life without, people that are abolishing the death penalty. And you have Alabama here still operating under the 1901 Constitution.
hmm Yeah, I mean, and when you say 1901 Constitution, people need to put that in context. A lot of time, we'll say 1901 Constitution, but in our state of mind, we'll be thinking about 2019. So when you think about a Constitution that was enacted in 1901, you got to remember this was just 16 years beyond the passage of the 13th Amendment. You know what I'm saying? So you got that going on, and with the passage of the 13th Amendment. So you have these type of mentalities going on. You had, I think, what they call it Reconstruction, and then they came back and took that, and they took it with force. And after they took that with force, they implemented laws, and it's in the minutes of the Alabama Constitution. It's in their minutes, and it's in the minutes of a lot of these states' constitutions that their objective and intent, as stated, was to construct white supremacy in the South. And so they passed a lot of laws, and they said that that's how they would do it. They said they would not do it by force, but they would make it the law. And so this
Exactly.
is the foundation of the law in the state of Alabama, and it's premise on establishing white supremacy. And that statement is in the minutes of the Constitution. And if you pull up a case called Hunter versus Underwood, United States Supreme Court case, you will see in there that claim was litigated in the state of Alabama not too long ago, and they quote the historical records and documents and show you that this is the law. You know what I'm saying? This is what's going on in Alabama right now. So that's what we up against, man. We up against so many forces down here, but people have stood up and answered the call previously, and so we just hope that they'll step up again.
I was listening to the Andy Dean talk show one night, and he was talking about a guy. that had went to a restaurant, got his meal, and dipped without paying the check. But when the dude got caught, he got a sentence that was so harsh. And the thing said, damn, what is this guy? Alabama? Did it happen in Alabama? So it's obvious that people around the world, people around the states are aware that Alabama is harsh when it comes to sentencing and everything. So if people knowing this, why aren't people, you know, why is it going a blind eye? Why is he turning a blind eye to it?
Because it's not their problem. You know what I'm saying? It's not their problem. It's the people's problem who are being subjected to the violence, subjected to the violation. And so if they looking at the people who are being subjected to this stuff and they're not doing anything about it, they're not making noise, they're not building awareness, they're not fighting, then what are the people supposed to do? They can't do it for us. So I mean, if they looking and ain't nothing going on, then I mean, what can we expect someone else to do when we're not doing anything ourselves? I mean, you know, when you're talking about conditions of prisons and what prisons are for, many people have never even read the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution. As someone who's listening to the live, I wish you would put the text there because it says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as punishment for crime shall exist within the United States or any of its jurisdictions. And so what that means is that in 1865, after the Civil War, the institution of slavery was not ended. What it did was they said that there would no longer be private ownership of slaves. The states around the country, they set up what we call Department of Corrections today to manage the institution of slavery that was now being authorized under the 13th Amendment. And that's why it says except as punishment for crime. Well,
Exactly.
crimes are punished in the courtrooms. And so the courtrooms, once they sentence you for a crime, they then send you to the department in the state that's in place to warehouse you. They have a department of transportation. They have a department of education. They have a department for this and that, where they have a department that they set up to hold human bodies, and that's called the Department of Corrections. And so
Right.
that is the institution that was set up to continue the institution of slavery. So it went from a private institution where Mr. John and Mr. Jim owned the slaves to a publicly owned institution where the states owned the slaves. You know what I'm saying? So then we became state property. And so now the state uses us just like they'll use an 18-wheeler or a tractor trailer or a truck. We become, you know, a product of the state. We state property. And so that's what prisons were for. The institution of slavery didn't have schools. It was against the law to educate a slave. You could be killed. So a prison was not set up to educate. Um, Rehabilitation. You didn't receive no rehabilitation on the plantation. You were made a slave, and that's what you were expected to remain. So there was no rehabilitation. Health care. You didn't get no health care on the plantation. You died. They went and bought another slave, left you right there to fertilize the soil. And so prisons, being the institution set up to continue slavery, that's why there's no education. That's why there's no rehabilitation. That's why there's issues with health care. That's why we piled up in here. That's why we eat the type of food that we eat, because this is slavery, and this is how a slave plantation is ran. Not with
Uh,
education, not with rehabilitation, not with programs, not with cuisines, and not with humane living conditions, but with inhumane living conditions. Because it's not about the conditions that you're here. You're here to provide labor for the state, and the only thing they're gonna spend the least amount of money to put you in the most inhumane environment. Because all you got to do is look at a slave quarters, and you'll see it's all the same.
oh man, you just blow me back with that one, man. You couldn't have said it no better. I'm saying if they ain't get no insight from that right there, then they sleep. Y'all need to wake up. This was really going on, man. This is really going on right here in 2019, man. Actual slavery.
Yeah,
Now it might not be chattel slavery, but it's slavery under the guise
but it
of.
is chattel slavery. But it is chattel slavery.
Come on
When
with it.
you when you when you was in statewide, when you went out to walk, tell them were you not in chattel slavery. Tell them what you went out on the walk in.
Yeah, when I go out on the walk, my hand are handcuffed. I have a chain around my waist with handcuffs attached to the waist. And I have shackles on my ankles. And then they put that on
And
me
by,
before I come out the cell. When I come out the cell, I gotta walk down a tunnel of gates. And when I go inside for my recreation or my exercise time for an hour, I'm inside a dog pen. I'm inside a fence. It's just a little square. And I'm shackled the entire time. So if I did want to do some squats or push ups, or running in place, I can't because I'm shackled down like Houdini. Who I'm trying to say
Right.
Houdini.
Yeah,
Houdini trying
and
to
so when you go inside your cell, do you eat when you want to?
no,
Do you eat what you want to eat?
no,
Can you go where you want to go?
no. Everything's
Do you
about money.
have you feel what I'm saying? So how this ain't chattel slavery? That's the point I was making. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? When you look out that field, you see them fields and you know who working them. So
right,
I mean, this is chattel slavery.
right. That's right. That's right. You gotta get it out there, bro. What I'm saying. Yeah. When we lock down like that, it's inhumane. Like you said, it's child
Yeah,
slavery because we
yeah,
shacking down the bunnies.
yeah,
But when I spoke on that, I just was saying that it wasn't like that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you got dudes that
yeah.
might
I
go work in the
mean,
tag plant, or dudes that might go on the
yeah.
on the work crew and be picking up trash along the
Mm-hmm.
interstate, or whatever they may be
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Right, right. But it's all connected. I mean, I understand what we both understand what we're
Right,
saying,
right, 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 right.
but we don't want people to think that the institution has changed because there's remnants of it all the way around. Like we get two pairs of whites every 6 months. We get one pair. You get one pair of boots if you got a job. Two pairs of whites. So yada yada yada. If you go back and look at the institution of slavery back in the 1800s and whatnot, they got two sets of whites every year. They got one pair of shoes every year. You know what I'm saying? To go out on the farm. You know, it's just it's too many parallels. You know what I'm saying? They transported a system from private ownership to public ownership, gave it a new name, and everything else remained the same. The first institutions, if you, it's a book called um, how Europeans underdeveloped Black America. If you look in that book, before 1865, prisons were primarily 90% or more white people. 93, 95, 97%. Black people didn't go to prison because our plantations were our prisons. Those were our prisons. The actual prisons in society, there were very few black people because if you committed a crime, most of the time you were gonna be killed or you're gonna be sent back to the plantation and your master was gonna deal with you. You know what I'm saying? And so
Exactly.
after 1865, when we were supposed to be free or emancipated, but with except for the exception in the 13th Amendment, they passed the first mass incarceration laws called the Black Code. And so this is the first mass incarceration of black people, which was right immediately following the emancipation in the 13th Amendment. And so that's when we started being warehoused and incarcerated inside of the prison system. And they were bringing us into the prison system, like I said. And as soon as we got in, they came out with started the convict leasing, and it's been on and rolling ever since. I mean, and
So
so
let me ask this question then. Say the
uh huh,
13th Amendment be abolished.
uh huh.
What's the recoil from that? If 13th Amendment is abolished, I mean, does the warehouses stop? I mean, people are still going to continue to work inside the prison system, but it would have to be some stipulation implemented for they have to be paid such amount of money for to do this. I'm
Right.
saying just because
I
it
think
stated that it's slavery is allowed in the 13th Amendment if committed a crime.
that's correct. That's correct. I mean, it would be amazing. I mean, it would really be something to see whatever the result would be. Would that force states to have to pay minimum wage and market rate? Would state legislators and whatnot pass laws saying, well, they still don't have to be paid? With labor issues, because right now, we are excluded from the labor laws, the National Labor Relations Act and National Labor Relations Board and whatnot. We're excluded from all of that by statute. So would they say that it's because of the 13th Amendment, or would they just, what I'm saying? We really don't know. But, it was said, and I can't remember which one of our ancestors said it. He said, there will be no slavery without the slave. So
Exactly.
to abolish the 13th Amendment does not mean that we have to go through the political process of getting Congress to get the you gotta, man, it takes, oh my God, what it takes to get a constitutional amendment repeal. I don't people think people know what all it takes.
They
but
don't. They
but
don't.
you know what I'm saying, but aside from that, there would be no slavery without the slave, we should just stop working, and that'll end the
Exactly.
institution of slavery right there.
Because
Fuck
we the
what's
ones,
on paper.
listen, bro, we the ones that keep the prison going. If it's gonna be for us working in the kitchen, working in the laundry, cutting the grass, maintenance, or this, that, and the other, who gonna run the prison? They got enough money, saying they don't have no money. You see what I'm saying? But on another note, I'm saying they get government grants, they get money. The whole thing is a monopolized system from the beginning to the end. When it starts, you first catching your case and then becoming a bond. Money is exchanged from the beginning all the way
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
So that's why I'm saying just the 13th Amendment itself being abolished, how does that affect the entire system of mass incarceration?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a big money scheme. That's just, I mean, there's no other way to put it. We can sit up here and talk ad nauseum about it, but it's an economic system. At every era in the existence of slavery, it was about exploitation of labor, where the one who does the work gets the little, and the one who's at the top, he gets the most. And that was all about economics. You know what I'm saying? And that's what this shit is all about. And so you cannot address an economic enterprise without an economic tactic. You must attack the economics of the system.
Give me
And the
some
only
insight on
economic
give me some insight on redistributive pain campaign.
Yeah, okay. That's a campaign that I started writing it in 2017 for the year 2018, and it came from during Dr. King's last few speeches. He After they did the March on Washington, and he came back and he started meeting with Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, and then he started getting more into the economics of of the system, and he was saying that we were being economically deprived, discriminate against socially, politically, economically. And so the economic part became the last part. And so they started engaging in more economic activities. In education awareness, he was starting the Poor People's Campaign, and they was fixing to march back to Washington. And there was a phrase where he said he finna tell Washington they wrote him a blank check and they coming to make him cash it. And
That's right.
he said that it's time to redistribute the pain. He said that, and so what happened? The 16th Street Baptist Church bombing occurred, and so for over the Christmas holiday, he wanted to redistribute the pain from that back onto white America. And he said what he would do was organize a boycott of all department stores around the country for that Christmas to redistribute the pain, because he understood that economically is how you attack these people in their system. And so I took that phrase, redistribute the pain, and I started the campaign to redistribute the pain in 2000, start writing about in 2017. San Francisco Bayview started publishing it, I think, in July of 17, and it went all the way through the year 2018. And what I was doing was just laying out the raw statistics on how companies like JPay, PayPal, and whatnot, we're transacting billions of dollars in economic transactions with these people. And they showed that JPay had made $50 million in profit in the year 2015 just off of our transactions. They don't talk about the phone companies, how much they're making, the canteens, the incentive packages, the Access Secure, and all of these people, and we're all using the same companies, Union Supply, all these companies. And so I said that until we get back to the state where we can start back doing our nationwide strikes, we need to be engaging in sacrifice. And so it called for every other month throughout the year 2018, February, April, June, Black August, October, and December, to boycott the phone, the canteen, visitation vending yards, and then all incentive packages. And so that's what it did. And so we were in the midst of putting that campaign together, and they had the situation at Lee County Correctional where the 7 guys got killed, lost their life. And so when they called for the next nationwide strike, they incorporated the campaign to redistribute the pain into their platform. And so they gave it a lot of momentum and boost, because a lot of people got involved in that 2018 strike. And so people like Imani Sawari, who is the spokesperson for Jailhouse Lawyers Speak, and a lot of other organizations who were behind putting that together. It was just another opportunity and example for us to demonstrate that we have power. We're not powerless. We can do something about our situation. We don't have to wait on no law to pass. We don't have to wait on no post-conviction petition. We don't have to wait on no judge. We don't have to wait on nothing. We can simply um, exercise the power that we have. We're here for our labor and nothing else. When we
Exactly.
remove that labor from the system can't exist. Just like on the slave plantation, if the slave master got 1,000 acre lot and he got 80 slaves, he still got to feed them slaves because he got to
Right.
keep them alive in
Right.
order to work the plantation. So he got to feed them, he got to house them, but he gonna spend the bare minimum on that because the stock, the harvest, that crop, the harvest of that crop is most important. Well, imagine if he go and get a loan on his house, get a loan on his property for say $250,000. That's what it's worth, and he put that whole 250,000 in the seed, fertilizer, planting this crop. Okay, when it's time for the harvest, just imagine all the slaves go on strike. Okay, when that crop rots in the field, he done lost everything because he can't make a profit. He can't go out there and harvest 1,000 acres by himself. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the same model or example that we need to start thinking about being behind these walls. If we stop going to work and performing all these duties, who gonna do all this labor? You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, we the question and the answer, like Nas say in the song, nigga, N-I-G-G-E-R. We the question and the answer, man.
Right. Because now, when I bring this to a lot of guys that might be working or have jobs for the DLC, majority of them guys, because I've been in match camp all my time. Majority of them guys be hollering,
Uh-huh.
man, I got 2, 3 life without, man. I got 6 in the feds. Go with it. I got this, that, and the other. Or how I'm gonna get cigarettes if I don't go work, or how I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. And they feel like it's not going to impact them by them shutting down, by them not going to work. They feel like it's gonna hinder them. A lot of people can't see
Yeah.
past tomorrow. So, what kind of advice? What can you address to that dilemma right there?
Well, I mean, a lot of the information that we use as far as education material is so outdated. You know what I'm saying? We really barely know how to even communicate with people today. I've been doing this, what you're doing right now. I've been doing this for, 5 years, interviewing people. I got, no telling how many interviews I got out there. But we have to start using these type of platforms to get our message out because our education curriculum has to be brought up to date. It's not to say that the principles that are being expressed are incorrect because those principles are correct. But we have to modernize the language. We have to modernize how we put it to them. You know what I'm saying? Um, People that out there with skills and using making these videos and stuff. We have to join
Right.
up with them and start getting them to assist us in putting out more and more little short videos and just whatever our message, how are we gonna come with the new, how we gonna present it to the people nowadays? But the education process is so important, man. So we have to update our knowledge base, and then we have to become more effective in how we getting this information out there, so that we can rally the troops, man, and get people to understand that sacrifice is essential, and that these people that are complaining about the little trinkets and whatnot, these people have given up hope. So we have to find a way to restore hope in them because what he's really saying is, I don't believe that I can go free. I don't believe that I can do anything
Right.
to free myself. I've basically given up. And so there's a psychology in what he's saying. And so what you have to figure out is how to address that psychologically. And that's where creating all this new education material and then making sure it's available to them. That's where it comes into play.
Like I was speaking when I was just speaking with Swift, I had brought that up. I had addressed it, and it coincided with what you just said. A lot of guys won't even do that or won't even take the initiative to go to school or try to gain education because they're lazy and afraid. So they don't have any incentive for that. Like you said, they think that what's the point? I ain't even do nothing but cause a problem for myself. I ain't even do nothing but make the search team come in and beat me up or take all my shit that I didn't work for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of
Because
that be
because
yeah, go
that's
ahead.
far as their knowledge go. See, that's far
Exactly.
as their knowledge go. So you have to add more information on. They can't go beyond the information that they already have. So the education, which comes through culture, we start building a proper culture that promotes education, that promotes principles that will get us through. You know what I'm saying? Once we start like I said, using social media, using our people who know how to create media to represent these principles and flood them with it until it becomes second nature again, then that's when we'll be able to get them to start thinking differently. And then once they start thinking differently, they'll start acting differently. But it starts with the education process.
That's why we got to catch ones coming through the door. We got to catch one coming through the
Yeah,
door and make them know that, hey, what y'all been hearing about prison, what y'all been thinking, that ain't what's going on. We in here on the movement. We on some positive shit. We trying to get about this thing. We ain't in here on what y'all
yeah,
been talking about. Because people in the
yeah,
public have a negative perception about prison. They think we're in here doing this that, and the other, especially when you see live videos and dudes in there smoking and getting high and rap music and so nice and all this and other. In the live videos, a lot of response comments I get on my videos is y'all got it made, y'all got it made. Oh, y'all got phones
yeah.
everywhere. You know what I'm saying? That's what they be thinking.
Yeah, but see, you have to take your phone and you have to narrate and explain to people what they're seeing. You can't leave it to interpretation
Right.
because if you ain't been here, you ain't gonna really understand or comprehend. Like when you showing a person your cell, they not really aware that two people live in this space. And if you just stand up and stick your arms out and show how close you are to touching the wall, then you turn and show them a toilet, and then you remind them of how fecal matter comes out of a toilet and floats in the air, and y'all inside this enclosure where there's no ventilation. Then you start describing a more accurate picture, and then you take your phone to the chow hall and you show it to them, and then you show them the bed that you sleep on, but you remind them that it's a steel bed and that there's a dog mat on it because they ain't gonna think, man, that's a dog mat. If I go to the dog store, that's the same mat that they sell for a dog, but you a human being, and then you on top of steel. And so we have to do a bet, man. That's where we really are failing the public at. That's where we're failing the public at. We're not putting it out there properly
Right.
in its totality. You know what I'm saying? And it's enough of us with phones. We can compile a database in a week's time that we can release over the course of a whole year if everybody used their phones and start documenting these inhumane conditions, man.
Yeah, see, I know I might get some backlash from all the interviews I've been doing. I've been expecting to come kick my door any moment, you know what I'm saying? But I'm for the people, you know what I'm saying? It's stand for something above anything. I ain't even worried about it.
Word.
But you hitting it right on the head. You're making a lot of good points. And I hope a lot of people see this and take notes and start addressing these matters. But like you said, it started with education and knowledge, and dudes need to start not being afraid and video and record this shit. You know what I'm saying? Let them know what's going on in here. Because I want to shout
Yeah,
out
we
to
got to do our
sister
part, man.
Sister Latanya Tate. She been down on their throat. She been on them, saying y'all dudes recording all these bullshit videos and going live talking about bullshit. Y'all got the whole world at your fingertips, and you won't do nothing to go towards your freedom. You won't do no type of litigation. You won't address nobody. Y'all got these phones. Y'all won't do nothing but get high and look in the rap video and this and the other. And I feel her on that. Yeah. I feel the same way with these dudes. You know how many dudes I try to get to go live or try to get to do an interview. I know they got fucked up cases. I know in messy situations. I know how to articulate themselves well because the world and the people and the politicians need to see that it is intelligent gentlemen. It is intelligent people and function in society right and get a good job with this and the other. It's so many people here with trades and skills and gifts, whether it's cutting hair or writing, drawing, or just singing. What they get in the view is when the news come on and another killing that's stating, or another officer been busted with drugs, or this and the third. That's the only thing the public getting. So it's our job to put the message out there of what's really going on. It look like I lost, brother. Well, man, I think that's the time for today, man. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I hope y'all got something for it, man. Y'all know exclusively from Ball, man. Blacks Against Racism and Slavery. We're gonna continue to interview. We're gonna continue to do things, man. We're gonna continue to bring it to y'all in the raw. That's the only way we know how. Ain't no other way. Politics always create elevation. Yeah, brother, I had lost you for a second. I thought I had to get out of there, but now,
Yeah,
come on, we can pick it back up.
yeah. You know, you finished it off. I mean, the burden is on us, man. You know, And ain't no need in looking around trying to figure out where the savior coming from. We're gonna have to save ourselves in this situation. And we got support. We got people out there. You know, we got organizations and individuals that are putting in the work, but they on the outside, and they are more powerful when they go to meet these people when we empower them, and we have the ability to empower them. You know,
Right.
we can boycott the phones, the store, sending packages, snack line. We can boycott that at any time, and it's millions of dollars that's being made off of these
All
these
right.
these little businesses, and the prices are marked up on them, and it costs if your family send you some money in prison, it costs them money to send you prison. It costs them money to send you money. So right off the gate, somebody has made some money off of your family member. And then when you receive your money, if you done had a sick call, or armband, or ID, or something of that nature, court costs, they get their money first. So if you done been to sick call and you got a $8, $12 bill, you done went from $90 to 95 because it cost $5 to send it. Then you done went from 95 to 83 because they took their $12, and then you get what's left. And then out of what you got left, you got to spend it with them. So when you go to the store, you get taxed. When you go to the snack line, you get taxed. And so these people use those funds to finance their budget. This is how they buy radios. This is how they buy chemical spray. This is how they buy batons. This is how they buy boots. This is how they buy belts. This is how they get paid. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? We paying these people. We paying for our own misery. And so when we boycott these enterprises, you know what I'm saying? Then we start empowering ourselves by taking money out of the system. We make it more difficult for them to meet their bills, for them to meet their budgets, and we stop being sources of funding for operations. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
it's just little things like that that we have to incorporate into what we doing on the inside to aid and assist people on the outside when they standing up for us and trying to help us get navigate through these prisons and make things better for everyone.
Right. And I just don't see how dudes can't fathom or comprehend that we are the ones that's keeping the prison system up by working, by going to the kitchen, by doing the laundry, by cutting grass. They don't have enough officers to work this place other on to get people from the outside to cook the food and do the laundry or the maintenance. So why dudes can't get that inside their brain that hey, if I don't work, then guess what? We gotta shut this shit down or come up with something.
I mean, there's so many different factors, man. See, we can't underestimate poverty and poverty-stricken people coming from a condition that we've come from historically in America. The prisons are filled with poor people. So when you have poor people in prison, and then you don't have education, but you got all the drugs that you want, you got all the knives that you want, and these are things that the state are making acceptable. And so when you have all these mixtures of things, in addition to functional illiteracy, mental health issues, guys coming from traumatic backgrounds, whereas the crime that they've been convicted of, the amount of time that they done received, the damage that's been done to them being separated from their families, you got all these issues, and guys fall into these habits just to get through the day. He
Exactly.
want to go to the work in the kitchen just to get away from this pain or that
Exactly.
pain. Or you got a guy, he's got an addiction, and he got to go to work to keep his addiction going. Or you got a guy who ain't got nothing, and he the only way he gonna get something is if he go to kitchen. And so when you got a
Right.
guy who's in a poverty-stricken environment like that, and his primary need is getting something in his stomach, it's hard to reach him. You know what I'm saying? But it's not impossible to reach him. And so we just fighting a very difficult task with a lot of difficult obstacles in front of us. But I mean, we've did it before. Throughout history, we've done it, and so that means that we can always do it again.
That's exactly true, man. You know, history has a tendency to repeat itself. Ain't nothing new under the sun. What was done once, it can be done again. And that's what we gotta get to the
That's
people.
correct. That's correct. I mean, but that's our mission. I want to keep emphasizing that. That's our mission. You done took up the mantle. You know what I'm saying? And
All
so,
right.
I mean, this has. If you go back and look at my book when I wrote in 2013, I emphasize in there, hey man, we got to start using these phones to help with the aid in the struggle to get the information out there to the people. Because you know, and everybody know, before we start using these phones to push the movement, people had no idea what was actually going on the inside. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? And so when we did that first shutdown in 14, what they always do is say, oh, they in there riding. And so when I was putting the structure together for what we were gonna do in Free Alabama Movement, I said when they come with that, I got to make sure we prepare. And
Yep.
so that was the purpose of filming all the videos, doing all the interviews, doing the guerrilla filming inside the kitchen, inside the infirmary, pulling up on the wardens and the captains, secretly recording them, getting them to admit and
Right.
acknowledge, you know what I'm saying, that they consciously don't give a fuck about our constitutional rights.
Right.
And so when we went on the strike and they was getting ready to make the move on us, you know, those videos all of a sudden start hitting the media, and then next thing you know, they on news channels, and we weaving our way through the entire Associated Press, the USA Today, the Wall Street Journal, Huffington Post, and on and on and on and on until, for the first time, we had control of the narrative about what was going on inside the prison. They couldn't misinform the public and say, oh, they in there riding, we got to go in with the CERT team, which was really just justification for them to go in and try to force the guys to go back to work. We got the videos, we got the pictures, we got the interviews, we got the message, and you ain't got to do nothing but go on the YouTube channel, you can see it for yourself. And so we can't be muted anymore. But what we can't do is get comfortable on our laurels, because there's still a lot going on, and we have to constantly accept the challenge of humanizing ourselves, because we can't become statistics. They say 2.5 million people incarcerated in the United States. Nah, don't make me a statistic, because
Right.
I'm gonna put myself out there and make sure you see me. I'm gonna make sure you see the history of this person that's been in prison for all this time, and I'm gonna make sure you see these children that you brought in here, and I'm gonna put their image out there, and I ain't gonna never take it down until we get justice, because that's what we entitled to. So that's how it's running, man.
Exactly. Don't be a dumb guy with a smartphone.
You need to get that turned into a meme, man. Anybody on the post know how to make memes?
Yeah, man, we're gonna get that meme drawn up. We need to get some shirts made. And here, don't be a dumb guy with a smartphone. Man, it was a
Yeah,
guy
we
that
need to
made
get
that
a
statement.
meme.
He made that statement in the barbershop. You know, in the barbershop, we cutting hair. We have a lot of ciphers in the barbershop while we cutting. So he made that statement, and he was going down this. He's been ready to get out. And he conscious. I'm saying one of our brothers. And he made that statement, and he expounded on that. Don't be dumb with a smartphone. You got the whole world at your fingertips. All right. If you see injustice going on, you see what's going on. You got a medium right here. You can access politicians. You can access the people that need to know about this what's going on, because what they don't know, it ain't gonna affect them. If they don't know really what's going on, then they can't do nothing but assume. Like you just said, when we did shut down, and then they seen the the violence and whatnot behind that. That was because they didn't know that the 13 coming here and they slapping you around or doing this or doing that and the
Yeah,
other. No, we standing peacefully like, no, we ain't gonna go to work. And you got an officer coming here with the said card saying, all right, whoever don't want to go to work, pack your shit up. And then you saying, well, I ain't packing shit up. And they hit me in my shit. You know what I'm saying, what I'm gonna do? Stand there and let them beat me to death? And my brothers, they gonna
yeah.
stand there and
And
watch?
then
No.
And then we got the videos showing they done went to the press and told them that when they came in, we had knives and sticks and we attacked them and whatnot. But what they didn't know was chain gangs had goddamn recorded them. So we had them on film, and they standing out there in formation beating their chest, and we got video of dudes laying down piled on top of each other with their head busted one after the other. And so once we got that out and got in our own media and got our own blog out there and started putting the actual story, the news media, the news corporation actually had to retract their story, because they had realized that they had been told in a lie, and that was the last time that the DLC was able to lie to the media in the state of Alabama.
Yeah. Hey, well, a lot of this stuff be heavy, bro. A lot of it be heavy. But I'm glad we able to have a platform like this, like Bars is giving us, you know what I'm saying, blasting against racism and slavery, to get the message out there. And we need some knowledge, son. Give them some knowledge let them know what's going on as far as some of the laws and some of the shit, like you just mentioned about the Senate bill that they're trying to pass and what they have passed. All right, we've been doing a lot of hypothetical speaking and a lot of talking about this, that, and the third. Let's get on some facts and some statistics real quick before we get out of here on what's going on and what needs to be done.
Okay. Well, I mean, like you said, right now, Alabama Justice Institute got the special sessions postcard campaign going on right now. So what they're trying to do is to apply pressure on the representatives and whatnot in the state and Governor Kay Ivey to call a special session to bring Senate Bill 382 back onto the floor. So that's going on right now, and that of course, like I said earlier, it changes a lot of the drug laws. It repeals the habitual offender law and makes everyone automatically entitled to a resentencing, and they'll be sentenced under the 2013 guidelines, which is the point system. So that's one of the things that's going on. You have another organization, Unheard Voices. They have a campaign going on where they're doing a letter writing campaign um, to Jay Towns, the United States Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney for this region, to try to force him to make try to force the Department of Justice to go ahead and file a lawsuit against the ADOC. You also have a campaign going on right now where Sister Latanya Tate, who is a former parole and probation officer in the state of Florida, she's a activist here in the state of Alabama trying to reform the parole system with things like she don't want you to be on lifetime parole. If you got a 30-year sentence and you make parole out of 15 years, she wants there to be a cap on how long you're going to be on parole where you'll earn good time for day or 30 for 30 with a cap being 5 years. So that's one of the things that she's emphasizing. They're working for a parole criteria so that if you meet a certain criteria prior to going up for parole, you complete that curriculum, you automatically make parole. And
Exactly.
so they're trying to do that, and she's also lobbying for a seat on the actual parole board. So we're trying to get a campaign of support behind her. But those type of initiatives take family members because those are people that already have the power to vote. Pastor Kenny Glasgow, the Ordinary People Society, they have a Get Out the Vote campaign going on where they're trying to go around the prison system and get guys to get registered to vote. And so all of that's going on. People trying to people are trying to challenge the system, man. There's so many vulnerabilities in the system, and getting guys registered to vote. Which I'm not just a advocate of the voting right, but I understand that in this day and time, it's probably got some potential use in it, provided that we form our own class. And what I mean by that is we don't join the Democratic Party. We don't join the Republican Party. We create our own party because there's enough of us to create our own party.
Right.
And by creating our own party, we're not obligated to any platform of any other organization. We get to create our own platform. And so we get to build our relationships based on who supports the ideas that we have. What people don't realize is in democracies in other countries around the world, there's more than just two parties. There may be 4 or 5 parties in their parliament. And so a group, let's say you have a hundred seat parliament. One group has 35, another group has 20, another group has 15, and yada, 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 on down until you reach 100. Well, the group with the 35, they've got to get 16 more seats in order to have a majority to rule. And so if they got to partner with somebody, and whoever they partner with gonna be like, hey, the only way we gonna partner with you and give you the majority, you got to give us these demands. This is what we want passed. And so for those of us behind the wall, we can do the same thing. We can create us a third party, and so we can nominate our representatives and whatnot, and then we can say we not Democrats, we Republican, we whatever the name we give our party, and we'll say you don't have enough to make a majority, or you don't have enough to make a majority. If you want us to form a coalition, a party with you, this has got to be part of the platform. And I think that strategically, that's something that we have to think about. When we talking about getting the right, don't just have people voting. Because that's what's going on right now. You got folks, why you vote Democrat? My mama didn't vote Democrat. And you ask their mama then why they vote
Yeah,
Democrat, because
exactly.
their grandmama didn't vote, and on and on and on. And when you think about it, the issues that we have as black people or poor people or whatnot in this country or incarcerated people, when we talk about the people on the inside, the issues that we have are not supported by the parties that we're giving our votes to. So it's idiotic and crazy. So it's got to be political education, but education is the key all the way around, man. That's the issue.
When you just
Subject matter will come.
when you just spoke on the importance of voting, you know, man, you done had ciphers about addressing it at the municipal level, you know what I'm saying, nipping it in the bud before it becomes a problem.
Hmm.
That's where voting becomes imperative at when you got judges and DAs and sheriffs being placed in these positions, detectives or whatnot, you know what I'm saying, police chiefs. These are the people that are charging people that's sending people to prison from the get go, out the gate. So that's why voting is imperative. It's not essential for presidents and you know what I'm saying, United States District Attorney because
That's right.
the laws that they pass address people on the federal level. Then the mass incarceration is more prominent on the state level than on the federal level.
That's right. Yeah, and then like just to utilize what you just said, parlay off of, if you take Jefferson County, like there's a chart out. We need to get that chart and figure out how we can get somebody when we have these ciphers, where we can scroll these charts and whatnot out there. But the chart shows that Jefferson County and Mobile County and Montgomery County provide the most people into the prison system. And so when you talking about on a local level, if we can organize the guys from these major cities to create and form these voting blocks, then these guys from these counties in prison can be effective locally, in who gonna be the district attorney. And with the district attorney understand that you can no longer rubber stamp Rule 32. You have to give these guys evidential adherence and yada yada yada. But like you said, that's on the local level, and that's how you can use that, on a local level, to have an impact. You know what I'm saying? You got these judges, they want to rubber stamp, deny everything. Well, you get the coalition strong, you get the body organized, then you get them participating in the political process. Some of these local elections are won by 30 and 40 and 50 votes, and the total might be less than 1,500 or 2 or 3,000. And I don't think people realize how much impact 2 or 300 votes will make in an election. And we have that many people in these prisons where we can get those numbers from those counties and have those people to make an impact on the local level. So yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly, man.
All right. I want to address something before we get out of here because I'm finna get ready to get out of here. I don't want the count to catch us. I know they probably finna count where we at and where you at. I want you to speak
Okay.
on this, expound on the unconstitutionality of the PLR, where Bill Clinton passed and was under the Anti-Terrorist Act about us not being able to litigate once we're procedurally barred.
Yeah, I mean, that's a broad topic, and why don't we say that for the next session? We'll come back in, I guess, tomorrow and build on that, because when you talk about the Prison Litigation Reform Act and the anti-terror fake death penalty, you talking about two of the largest pieces of legislation that have ever been used to mass incarcerate people, and the
Right.
tentacles of it goes beyond the federal level, because they made federal funding contingent on states passing harsher, tough on crime laws and militarizing the police forces, and that's where we see all these joint task force. It's just the tentacles are too long, and that'll be just on the anti-terrorism side. That ain't even gonna get onto the Prison Litigation Reform Act, which is connected to the
Right.
omnibus crime bill. So it's a broad topic. Yeah, I'll be
Okay.
glad to get on with you on that right there. Whenever we can go back tomorrow, later on tonight, whatever.
All right. Well, we'll probably say that for tomorrow, right before we do the conference call. If we can do it before the conference call, after the conference call, whichever one you prefer. So now, yeah, we'll have the viewers tune in. We'll make a post and let them know to be tuned in. It's coming.
That's the business, bro. Hey, appreciate it, man.
I
The work
appreciate
you
you.
doing, man, is revolutionary. It looks simple, but when people look back on history and they see what we accomplished within this movement, and they see people like you making these sacrifices, putting your face out there, taking these risks, to educate the people, people going to appreciate it then even more than what they doing today. So I just want to commend you for that. You ain't even 30 years old. You know what I'm
No.
saying? and that's where the movement comes from. The energy from all movements come from the youth. So the fact
You're
that
right.
you grabbing it at this young age, man, it's just commendable, man. And these people with these platforms, bars, the state mentioned, they do an amazing job too. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? This is a very unique uh, concept. Whoever came up with this concept is a very intelligent person, and we're
Shout out
gonna
to
do all
Quick.
we can to contribute to continue to building it, man. That's what's up.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Congrats. Yeah, I get motivation from guys like y'all, man. You know, when I hit the scene, it was y'all that had the mic, that had the platform. You know what I'm saying, Free Alabama movement. It was you guys I come up under. You know, guys like McConnell, Coach Chambers, right, and the McFarls and the Shadows. You know, them guys I get my motivation from. And you know, I read and I politics. You know, Shake Rivera, George Jackson, them in the third. You understand? Some of you'll fall for anything. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I ain't afraid of the administration. No, I ain't doing it for no fame. I ain't doing it for clout. I'm doing it for the people, man, for the struggle. I was doing it before I came to prison, and I'm gonna keep on doing it. But now I appreciate guys like you that paved the way and made it easy for us for me to come along and pick up the mic and pick up the torch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, just I appreciate that, bro. I just always want to say that it didn't come from me. It came from the people that came before us, the ancestors. They
Exactly.
paved the way. Mr. Mafundi, God bless him, man. He always used to tell me and us and all the youth and people whose life he done impacted and educated that if we, he said, all we have to do is look back on our history and it'll provide us with the answer to all our problems. And our ancestors left us invaluable treasures of knowledge throughout our history, through what they did on the continent of Africa, and then as they traversed the planet, they left signs and road maps everywhere because they encountered all kind of problems, but they taught us how to overcome all of them. Up to the one that I like to use the most relate to the Free Alabama movement is the Montgomery bus boycott. They taught us how you have to sacrifice. You may have to walk. And people don't realize the Montgomery bus boycott lasted for over 370 days. So our people walked and learned the carpool and whatnot for over a year straight just to send a message to the South in Montgomery that we would not accept a subhuman, substandard treatment and way of life, and then you take our money in the process. We're not gonna give it to you like that. And so, guys on the inside, we have to exemplify those same principles. You know, they didn't have they didn't beat they wasn't gangsters. They didn't claim to be gangsters and thugs and real niggas and real bitches and hoes. They claim to be men and women. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we have to strive to. That's our highest ideal is being men in a time that needs men. You know what I'm saying? The times that we in right now is demanding that men and women step forward. And so that's what we need. We don't need no real niggas, gangsters, thugs, yada 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 yada. You know what I'm saying? And a man is defined by his principles,
All right.
not by his possessions, not by his conquest, not by his intellect, but only by his principles. And so anyone can have principles. A drug addict can have principles. So we got to stop blaming them.
All right.
Homosexuals can have principles. So we got to stop blaming them. Gang members and gang leaders can have principles. So we got to stop blaming them. We got to blame the men for not setting a strong enough example. You know what I'm saying? Because a man has to overcome these situations for the people. So let's be men, man. Let's embrace that challenge right there, which is the toughest challenge that there is for a man. I peace with that.
Wow, God. I'll get back with you tomorrow, man. I'm finna cap this interview up and cap this broadcast, and I'll link up with you.
Word.
All right, peace. Hey, I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. All the ones that show support, everybody that shared, help get the message out there, man. We going on the inside, man. Let them know that we are not animals. We are not barbaric. And yes, the 13th Amendment does allow slavery. It's a gimmick. But we fighting, man. Y'all make sure y'all tune in to this platform, man. Bars, Blacks Against Racism and Slavery. As long as I'm here, man, I'm gonna continue to do my thing. I'm gonna continue to bring it to y'all raw and uncut. Power to the people, man. Positive energy always create elevation. Oh, by the way, yeah, that was Free Alabama Movement, man. one of the founders, RaSun, Bennu Hannibal RaSun. Y'all make sure y'all follow us. We'll set some links up or whatever. We'll keep y'all posted. Before that was Swift Justice. He has a lot of videos and exposés on the YouTube channel, and I posted some on the page as well. So those are who the interviewees were. Tune in tomorrow. We'll pick up on the PLR, Prison Litigation Reform Act, and the Anti-Terrorist Act that was implemented, and the reason people can't litigate this and the third. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow with another exclusive interview with Free Alabama.